Hello, everybody, and welcome to Substack Live. This is part of our Midas Meetup series. I want to thank everybody who has been joining us over the past few weeks. As you know, we try to bring you the top guests, not only in the country, but in the world. And that's why it's always a pleasure when we have somebody like Jim Acosta on with us. Jim, we're so excited to have you back here. It was so great seeing you a couple of weeks back in New York at the Webby Awards in the
Oh yeah.
flesh. And speaking of in the flesh, you got a big event coming up that folks need to know about if they are in the area or want to be in the area. They could see the Jim Acosta show live, a live town hall, and this lineup is absolutely amazing. I know it's going to be a lot of everybody's favorites. You got Rosie O'Donnell, Michael Fanone, Olivia Troye, Harry Dunn, Aaron Parnas, Tara Setmeyer, Miles Taylor, and I hear you have a new addition as well. Representative Jasmine Crockett will be
Yeah.
joining star-studded lineup in the DC area at the Lincoln Theater on Monday, June 2nd. So make sure to check out tickets for that at thelincolndc.com. That's thelincolndc.com. Jim, we certainly have no shortage of topics to
I
discuss.
know.
I want to remind everybody as well to make sure that you're subscribed to Jim here on Substack. There's some sort of button, somewhere above my head over here, I know, where you could hit
Yeah.
subscribe. But
You
let's
get a free
dive right.
taco if you.
Free tacos. Speaking of tacos, we saw the Taco Man himself today, standing alongside Elon Musk, giving a bizarre Oval Office press conference. Elon Musk had was sporting a fresh black eye for some reason. There's been rumors of some physical altercations that he's had with other members of the Trump administration, like Scott Bessent. I'm not sure if that's related. He
Right.
blamed it on his kid, little X. It was a departure ceremony for Elon. Also, kind of oddly felt like a funeral procession. I can't even. It was just the odd, weird vibes in there. What do you make of that press conference, Jim? And what do you make of
Yeah.
the job? What's Doge's legacy as Elon Musk kind of departs the White House right now?
I mean, this is sort of like this is what happens when you put two cockfighting chickens in the same potato sack. I mean, it does not work out well. And obviously, when we heard from Donald Trump the other day, there's no problem with Elon Musk, even though Elon Musk is trashing the big beautiful bill. Give me a break. I think when Elon Musk made those comments, oh, the deficit's going to go up. Okay, you're shocked that Donald Trump doesn't care about the deficit. Gee, thanks. I think this is Elon Musk trying to distance himself from Donald Trump, from the Trump administration, probably even from Doge itself, because of the utter, I mean, just catastrophic damage that has been done to Tesla and all of his brands. I mean, when you drive around DC these days, every Tesla, because of the person who's driving it hates Elon Musk, has put like F Elon on their car, or I bought this Tesla before Elon Musk was crazy, and so on. It's been catastrophic. And the thing that one of the reasons why I'm doing this town hall on Monday, not to start off with a plug, is there are so many federal workers in DC who are suffering right now. I talked to a representative from one of the federal employees unions yesterday who said one of the ladies who's coming to the town hall is now getting by on food stamps because she got kicked out of her federal job. And of course, there's waste, fraud, and abuse. You want to trim the size of the federal government, fine. The way they did this was absolutely evil. The way they went after people and shut down agencies was absolutely evil. And I think that's going to be the legacy of Elon Musk doing this Doge thing. It'll be the hand gesture that he made on Inauguration Day, and then the way he just screwed over the American people for the next 2 months, 2 or 3 months, and going after the federal government with a meat axe when that was just not necessary at all.
One of the things that has defined this past week is if you've mentioned it already, the taco, the Trump always
Yeah.
chickens out, which it's great to mock him with that. But to me, it also speaks to this
Right.
bigger issue, though, of kind of how small he looks, how small he's made our country, and from a regime that has talked about from day one not wanting America to be a global super any power anymore, but to be part of a multipolar, thing. America seems to be one of the weakest poles, though that even exists in their polarity. And it just was exuded
Yeah.
by that moment with the reporter saying, people are calling you a chicken. He goes, I'm a chicken. And I'm like, it was just a moment that to me was bigger than the mock. What do you make of
Yeah,
that?
and you know what? He seems to confirm the criticism almost every day. I mean, he does chicken out, and the fact that you have Wall Street traders coming up with a way to trade stocks based on Trump's nuttiness tells you where we are as a country right now. And the way, I mean, if you go back and you look at the way he responded to the taco question, which, by the way, kudos to that CNBC reporter for asking that question. That was a very, it just goes to show you. I remember this from my days at the White House. You ask a, it's just a very honest, straightforward question, and he comes unglued because he can't even answer those kinds of questions. And so she asked that question, and he starts throwing out these ridiculous statistics about what he's done with tariffs and so on. And it's almost like somebody has to tell him, like, you don't know what you're doing here. You are wrecking the global economy based on a philosophy you've held on for 3 decades that is just never going to pan out. And so to me, the taco thing is perfect because, and if you look at the memes, my God, I mean, this has been like gift from the heavens, all week long. We've seen these amazing taco memes and in the chicken memes and so on. And it just, we don't need to be in this place. It's kind of sad that we're in this place where the president of the United States has been reduced to this kind of a punchline, but he does it to himself.
And its impact, I think, on the international community, just even how the European Union looks at America now, how Canada,
Yeah,
this was a week also where King Charles gave that speech from the throne, which in any other period, Canadians would have not even viewed that necessarily as a favorable thing. But here he's coming in because it's
yeah, that's
like
true.
punkin Trump, right? And speak about or speak to your coverage throughout your career has focused on America leading the world internationally. So now, as you're leading independent media with groups like us and others, you must be looking at. It's just strange to see America not a global superpower, and it's pretending
Yeah,
to be one, and it's embarrassing because it's like, look how strong we are, and it's like, not really anymore. That's not how people look at it.
yeah, we're kind of like locked in Trump inception right now. It's a riddle wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, and it is sad. And the thing that sort of proves the taco chicken point is the way he deals with Vladimir Putin. This is one of the reasons why we're not respected around the world. He puts out these messages like, I am so mad at Vladimir Putin. You think Putin gives a rat's ass what Donald Trump thinks? There's just no way. He's been doing this for 2 decades now. He's got this down to a science. The only language that Vladimir Putin understands is the one that's being communicated by Volodymyr Zelensky and the Ukrainians. It is peace through strength. It's the old Reagan doctrine of peace through strength. It's something that Donald Trump will never understand because he doesn't know how to speak that language. He gets out there, he puffs his chest out, and then he doesn't back it up. And that's the reason why Vladimir Putin doesn't rely on his word. It's the reason why the traders on Wall Street don't rely on his word, and our European partners. I mean, I've been to so many parts of the world, but when you go to Western Europe and you talk to people in the NATO alliance and you talk to countries, I was up in Norway not too long ago. People are afraid. People are scared. They're afraid because they see the United States of America being led by somebody who is just completely unhinged and somebody who's completely out of control. And that makes the world a much more dangerous place. There's no question about it.
Talk to us about, this. You and I first chatted, Brett and everybody, when you first made the move to independent media as well,
Yeah.
though. What's been interesting, and it even feels in the past 2, 3 weeks, kind of an additional momentum that we're even seeing as more people are starting to recognize. I think what you recognized right away, what we've been recognizing that people are coming here now, and
Yeah.
speak to that experience.
I mean, guys, we talked about this when I left my old place. And, I think the world of you guys and what you've done because the corporate media world needs to be reminded from time to time that there is such a thing as we the people. And that's what independent media is all about. That's what places like Substack are all about. That is kind of like what YouTube is all about, quite frankly, where you guys have been really so dominant. And I'm not saying that to blow any wind up your skirts. I'm saying it because it's true. And, the people out there are pissed. They're mad at the corporate media world right now. They're seeing these deals being cut. Apparently, the other day, according to the Wall Street Journal, Paramount offered Trump $15 million, $15 million. And it wasn't enough for Trump. Trump wants 25 billion and an apology. And I was on my Substack yesterday saying, Paramount, don't you dare pay that money. Don't you dare pay that money. You are going to undermine this country, because as soon as you pay that kind of a bribe, you pay that kind of intimidation racket payment, it teaches him. He learns that he can keep doing it to everybody else. And, we can't have a situation in this country where the president of the United States rules over the media, rules over the press, the arbiters of the truth, with an iron fist like that, or an iron fist with a taco in his hand, I suppose you might say. But I think what's happening right now in the corporate media world is very dangerous. And the independent media world, which is a revolution right now, in my opinion, is keeping that in check. I mean, look what some of these media outlets are doing right now. They're saying, oh, this anchor is going to start a podcast, or this person over here is going to do this. They're doing it because of us. They're saying, oh, wait a minute. I mean, I've had network executives reach out to me and say, hey, Jim, how can we get on Substack? And I have to say to them, like, you realize that the people out there think you're compromised right now. And they don't, you could go get on Substack, you can go get on independent media. They're still not going to want to watch you, because they're bloody pissed at you right now.
You
And
know,
I think it's an important moment that we're in right now, and it's good that we're here standing strong.
it's interesting because I heard a reporter who will remain nameless who said,
Yeah,
I don't look at the comments. I never read the feedback. I never really want to know. And my instinct was always, that's kind of the mistake. Like, it doesn't
yeah,
mean you should be dominated and be in fear of your comment section and what people say. But I
yeah,
think the most important thing to be thinking about is, what's the community saying? I think to be a great independent reporter, you have to be a great listener. And I think one of the things
absolutely.
that you've done is saying, let me just see what the people are talking about. And then you recognize the things that they're talking about right now on corporate news networks is not what the people are talking about on their day-to-day lives when they are
Yeah.
home and they're chatting with it, right?
Yeah. I mean, why, who the hell cares about, what Joe Biden's mental state was? I'm sorry. Who the hell cares at this point? We're in a different place right now. We have ICE agents showing up in masks and scooping up people off the streets and grabbing U.S. citizen children and sending them out of the country without due process. They're taking people off the streets and sending them off to gulags in other countries. And that is what those are the kinds of things we should be focused on right now. I mean, for Pete's sake, honestly, what we're up against right now is pretty daunting. And, I don't know if I told you guys this story before, but I was with Trump the day he left office, rode on Air Force One with him, flew down to Mar-a-Lago, dropped him off at the West Palm Beach airport, off he went. And I thought to myself at that point, thank God he got on that plane. Thank God he left the first time around. I am not so sure that's going to happen this time around. And so we've got some big, I'm trying to curse less on these podcasts. We're in some big friggin' trouble right now, and people need to be paying attention to the here and now. I'm not saying you can't write a book. Go write a book. If you want to write a book, go write a book. But we need to pay attention to the here and now, because what we're in the middle of right now is pretty terrifying, and people need to be paying attention to it.
Yeah, and it's what makes that kind of capitulation that we've been seeing, all the more frustrating, I think, for the folks who are watching this, because this is a time when things are not normal, when all the things that you were speaking about are happening every day. There's like 100 things like that
Yeah,
every single day, and so it's so hard for people to even keep track of everything that's going on. And then you look in one direction and you see a major corporation like a Paramount offering $15 million to Donald Trump. You look in the other direction, you see these law firms who you'd figure would be these big, powerful law firms with millions, if not billions of dollars, able to actually fight back against somebody like a Trump. You see them capitulating to Trump. It's easy for folks to, sort of think, of course, like all this does feel kind of rigged against me, and all these executives
yeah,
don't have my best interests in heart. But I think occasionally we do see, that oftentimes this resides with a lot of these executives, the people who are running these companies, less so than a lot of the journalists who are actually at these places
I agree.
who are doing some terrific work. And you just see all these lies being spread every day by the administration. And so thankfully there are places out there who are still doing a good job, journalists that are still doing a good job. I know there was a question the other day about this Maha report, this Make America Healthy Again
Yeah,
report. And this reporter from Notice, they discovered over there that at least 7 of the citations, and I think they may have located a few more today, were totally made up in this report. This report that was basically
Yeah.
used as a pretext to take away people's vaccinations, recommendations for vaccinations, remove all these health protocols, and
Yeah.
it seems like the whole thing was essentially made up with AI. Like they developed this whole report by AI. So how do you, in your mind, hold an administration accountable that so doesn't care about the truth to the point where they are literally crafting evidence out of thin
Yeah.
air through artificial intelligence and trying to pass it off as the real thing?
Yeah, I mean, shocker when you put the guy who took his kids swimming in Rock Creek Park in
Right.
Washington, D.C., sewage-filled Rock
Toxic
Creek
sewage.
Park. It may not have the best handle on public health in this country. I mean, my God. You know, I worry about this almost more than anything else because of what we went through during the COVID pandemic. I went to the White House every day during the pandemic, had to put the mask on, went to the White House with the mask on while the Trump people weren't wearing masks and acting like morons. And to see these types of folks in charge of public health again is frightening because if we have another pandemic, if we have a public health crisis where a virus is on the loose, where you need to have competent public health people in charge, we're not going to have that. The Dr. Fauci's of the world, those types of folks, they've been knocked off the battlefield by these kooks and these wackos. And to have a situation where we might just let a virus run loose the next time around, to me, should scare every American in this country. And it's one of the things that the public should have taken into account during the 2024 campaign. I would talk about this from time to time. I would say I covered Donald Trump when he was saying you can inject yourselves with disinfectants or put a light up, you know where, and ward off the coronavirus. My God, why in the world was that guy given the nuclear codes again? I think that's a reasonable question. It doesn't mean you're off in one direction or another politically. I think it's a reasonable question to ask. Why would you put that person in charge of public health again? Ultimately, he's the guy that put RFK Jr. in this job, and so it does not surprise me at all that these people didn't do their homework like a kid in high school and says, "Oh, let me just AI it. I'll put it into Chat GPT. What we should do about vaccinations." Of course, it didn't go well.
And there seems to be all these ticking time bombs, whether it's with
Yeah,
health and the cuts to the NIH and CDC. What happens if there is another pandemic or a massive situation like we've seen before? FEMA being cut. What we're about to hit hurricane season, and
correct.
FEMA's basically gutted. There's so many, and obviously in the economy, people aren't talking about it that much. But with Donald
Yeah,
Trump going after student loan delinquencies, we now have a whole group of people whose credit scores are getting dinged, who can't participate in the economy anymore. Credit card delinquencies are at an all-time high. And what we saw in the
yep,
housing crisis in 2008, which led to Fannie and Freddie having this robust role in the government, Trump wants to break that down as well. And he wants to make Fannie and Freddie decoupled from kind of real government oversight. So it's like recreating all of the issues that we tried to solve with
exactly.
legislation over and over again. It's which time bomb's going to burst first.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I mean, to me, that is where the Congress comes into play here. And that is why I think, Trump's in a world of trouble come midterms next year because the people have figured out, enough people have figured out, okay, we shouldn't have taken a second chance on this guy. They thought, inflation's not doing as well as I wanted it to during the campaign. People thought this and so on. They may have voted just slightly in Trump's direction to put him over the line. So he won the thing. But way more than that, I think this time around, going into the midterms, are going to say, we gave this guy another chance, and he's made a mess of everything. He's made a mockery of the presidency. He's made a mockery of things like the pardon power. He's engaging in corrupt activity again, trying to get a free plane from the Qataris and so on. I mean, these ads for the 2026 campaign, they're already writing themselves, with the tacos and everything.
Or
And
or
Jim,
Joni
So
or Joni Ernst today saying we're all going to die anyway, so
we're
we
all
might
going
as
to
well just
die
get
anyway. Isn't the point
yeah,
to not die?
yeah, I think the idea is to push that off as far as possible. I think is
Let's
our
not
goal,
die.
not to speed it up by taking away people's
Well,
Medicare and
Brett, I just want
Medicaid.
to make that point though, because I say that a ton on the show. I say I say that for these Republicans who claim that they're pro-life, which they're not, they are so
Yeah.
pro-death that I said I try to take away the politics out of it because I think sometimes politics gamifies the humanity of what we're all kind of experiencing here. And I said,
Yep.
if you just look at these policies that they're pushing forward, they're literally like killing you. So when I think about like I saw this segment recently of Cubans for Trump, and especially in light of what happened today with Cubans losing their protected status, with Trump pushing that to
Yep.
the right wing Supreme Court. It's like, well, we don't support him on deportation, but on all of the other issues,
Yeah.
we are more aligned. And I'm like, okay, but let's just say that's true. The issue that you don't support him on is the issue where he kills you. And so
Exactly.
the one
Right.
guy doesn't kill you, the one guy kills you. Why you keep voting for the guy who literally kills you?
I agree with you. And my dad is a Cuban refugee, so this one hits close to home. I mean, I'm so glad that I grew up in a country and my dad came to a country, he came in the 60s when John F. Kennedy was president, where they weren't doing this sort of thing to migrants, where they weren't just, my dad had refugee status because he was fleeing a communist country. Hello, Cuba is still a communist country, and Donald Trump is taking away their protected status. And so for the Cubans out there down in Miami and so on, who, we don't want to have Kamala Harris as president, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Well, you saw the signs at the Republican National Convention that they were waving, right? They were waving signs that said mass deportations now. Did you think that they were not referring to Cubans? Did you think they were not referring to Venezuelans? They were referring to you. That those signs should have been a warning sign to you that that you might get scooped up and sent back to a communist country.
So how do we what's your with that being there, we know they flood,
Yeah.
we know I mean, in South Florida, they flood the zone with the messaging. Democrats are communists, and it's
Yep.
uh, is independent media the path? Do
I think
we need?
so. I think so. And one of the perils of independent media, my phone may run out of batteries here soon because I don't know, the Substack machine, as I like to call it, is sapping my iPhone. But I'll just say that, and I love Substack, don't get me wrong, but it does crater my battery. But um, I love those guys, but it's true. No, but the thing is that people don't understand this is happening down in South Florida, that there are right wing radio stations that are constantly pumping out this propaganda all the time. And just in the way that we've seen independent media make its mark on the national level, I believe it's going to start filtering down to the local level, like the Midas touch. Wouldn't it be great if you had the Midas touch in all of these big cities and towns all around the country where you had independent journalists in those communities? Maybe you're already starting to do that. But if it were expanded on a national level, I mean, this is something that could really take the country by storm. I don't know. You may not want more work, but you may get more work. And it may happen naturally because people want these alternatives.
And before your phone goes, I'll let you do the graceful exit versus the abrupt Jim Acosta exit. So
Instead of
I
going,
want
yeah,
to, well, I'll leave with this too, which is why I think people see independent journalists supporting independent journalists at all steps. And I think we all recognize that,
yeah,
we're in this together. And I think people like to see, us all together and do our own things on our platforms, but then come together on big things. And we look forward to coming together on more big things with you, Jim. We'll let you go. Everybody subscribe to Jim Acosta's Substack, subscribe to our Substack. We really appreciate all the work you're doing, Jim. And everybody go to the town hall.
thanks.
Plug it one more
Yeah,
time, Jim. Was it?
Jim Acosta Show live in DC. Who are the special guests, Jim?
We got Jasmine Crockett, we got Rosie O'Donnell, Mike Fanone, Harry Dunn, January 6 police officers, Olivia Troye, Miles Taylor, Tara Setmeyer. I mean, Aaron Parnas is going to be there. It's going to be a great lineup. Got to come
Monday,
out.
June 2nd, go to the lincolndc.com, get your tickets. I know if I were in the area, I would be there in an absolute heartbeat. Jim, it's always a pleasure. Let's do this again soon. Let's do some hits on YouTube as well.
Let's do it.
I always love chatting with you.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
See you, Jim.
All right,
Good
charge
seeing
that phone up.
And my phone made it.
Charge it up. Plug it in.
Okay, all right, bye.
Bye.